Sunday, 4 days. And this is your last session with us this time, but we are trusting God that it's not your last session with us. Henry goes back to the States, kusasa ekuseni ngiyamthatha ngemisa airport usebuyele ekhaya. So uzosipha intshumayelo yokugcina njengamanje. Kule visit siyamthemba uNkulunkulu uzophinde abuye abe nathi. Kube isikhathi lesi esibe impactful ngendlela emangalisayo. Impilo zethu nempilo eziningi zithintekile ngendlela emangalisayo. Ngiyacela abazalwane ukuthi sisukume sime ngezinyawo ngehlombe elikhulu samukela uHenry eza ngaphambili ukuzosabela izwi. Singahlala phansi bazalwane. Thank you. Here it is. Oh, okay.
I'm glad you turned the lights down. That way you can't see me. No,
We turn the lights down so your presentation can be a little bit more clearer.
I know. It's good to be here.
Kumnandi ukuba lana.
Trying to figure out what I'm doing here. I have the best assignment in the whole wide world.
Nginomsebenzi omuhle kunayo yonke emhlabeni wonke.
Because I get to meet people just like you.
Ngoba ngiba nethuba lokuhlangana nabantu abafana nawe.
But you know, if somebody else would try to do my assignment,
Yazi ukuthi uma ngasabe khona omunye ozama ukwenza lokhu okuthunywe mina,
they would be probably frustrated.
abanye babo bengasithola mhlambe be-frustrated.
You know, the last couple days you heard me talk a lot about this,
Le nsuku ezimbalwa edlulile ungizwile ngikhuluma kakhulu ngalokho
about how that everybody is an individual.
ngokuthi umuntu nomuntu uyi-individual uhlukile.
And nobody's like you, and nobody ever will be.
Akekho umuntu ofana nawe futhi akekho omunye oyophinda afane nawe.
So stop trying to be somebody you're not supposed to be.
Ngakho yekela ukuzama ukuba umuntu ongamele ube uyena.
There's a song that became popular in the United States,
Kuneculo eladuma kakhulu eMelika.
and the title is something like this:
Isihloko sakhona sithi
You can be all that God wants you to be.
ungaba ikhona konke uNkulunkulu
No,
afuna ube yikho.
You are all that He says you are. That's
No
what it
kahle
is.
hle lithi uyikho konke uNkulunkulu athi uyikho.
But I don't quite agree with that.
Kodwa angivumelani naleliculo ngokupheleleyo.
I take it a step further.
Ngiyaqhubeka ngiyisele phambili.
You are who you say you are.
Ngithi mina unguye lo muntu wena othi unguye.
Did you get that?
Nikuzwile lokho?
You know, who you say you are is who you are, or you'll become that person.
Lo muntu wena othi uyena yilo muntu oyena noma uzoba yilo muntu wena othi uyena.
Now, yes, the Bible does say that Jesus says certain things about you, and I understand that.
Yebo iBhayibheli khona izinto elikhulumayo ngempilo yakho ngiyaqonda lokho.
But I think there's always an action in our own part.
Kodwa kukhona okusuke nathi kumele sikwenze ukuze sihambe kulokho.
And many times that action is our words.
Ikhathi eziningi leyo nto kumele siyenze amazwi siwakhulumayo.
So I want to start this morning
Ngifisa ukuqala namhlanje ekseni
by taking off my jacket.
ngokuthi nje ngikhumule icoat yami.
I just came from another service, and that room, I think, did it have air conditioning? Or
It
was a
has
lot
air
cooler. It was
conditioning.
a lot cooler.
Yeah.
So, which I like this. I like hot weather.
Ngiyayithanda iweather eshisayo. Yanduduza bazalwane mina ngithenga aircon nani la.
But I want to, first of all, thank you so much, Pastor, for allowing me to be here.
Siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ningivumele ukuthi ngibe khona la. Thank you for coming.
You know, my assignment on this earth
Umsebenzi wami kulomhlaba
is to empower people.
ukuthi ngipha abantu amandla.
I had to think about the way the Pastor introduced me this morning at the other campus.
Bengimele ngicabange ngendlela angazise ngayo noma angithule ngayo umfundisi ongithulile his church Pinetown.
Now, I don't know where she got the information, but she must have got.
Angazi ukuthi uthathephi le information angithule ngayo.
But she mentioned, I've been doing this for 35 years.
Ushilo ukuthi lento engiyenzayo sekuphele iminyaka cishe u35 ngiyenza.
And when that information was given, it was 27 countries, but it's actually been, I think, 31 right now. So.
Ngalenkathi ngithula uthe sengiye emazweni awu27 kodwa kahle hle sengiye emazweni awu31.
But she said something that I never really saw before.
Kodwa khona into ayishilo ebengakaze ngize ngiyibone.
She said, and I'll say, God has given me the ability
uNkulunkulu ungiphe ikhono
to teach a kingdom message
ukuthi ngifundiso umyalezo wombuso
to cross cultures
kumasiko angafani ahlukile
and to all ages.
Futhi nakubantu abaneminyaka iminyaka yonke yabantu.
And she said how unique that is. I never really looked at it that way.
Wakhuluma ngokuthi leso sipho isipho ehlukile kangakanani.
But I thank God for that.
Kodwa ngiyambonga uNkulunkulu ngalokho.
Because you see, I have this ability to see whoever I look at.
Ngoba nginaleli khono lokubona noma ubani engimbonayo.
I have the ability to see unlimited potential in that person.
Ngikwazi ukubona ikhono engenamkhawulo kulowo muntu.
I try to view things how God would view people.
Ngizama ukuthi ngibuke izinto ngendlela uNkulunkulu abuka ngayo izinto.
So this morning I want you to understand that you have so much potential.
Namhlanje kuseni ngifisa uqonde ukuthi wena unekhono elikhulu kakhulu.
And you're all individuals.
Futhi
God created you the way you are.
Nonke ningama individuals uNkulunkulu ukudale ngalendlela oyiyona.
For a purpose.
Futhi ukwenze waba ilendlela oyiyona ngenxa yenjongo
So I want to talk
kulomhlaba.
about that this morning.
Ngifuna ukukhuluma ngalokho namhlanje.
What does that look like?
Ibuya kanjani leyo nto?
You were put on this earth
Wabekwa kulomhlaba
to bring the kingdom to this earth.
ukuthi ulethe umbuso kaNkulunkulu kulomhlaba.
We're here to influence the earth for the kingdom of heaven.
Silana ukuthi sibe nomthelela emhlabeni for umbuso wezulu.
Wherever you are,
Noma ikuphi lapho ukhona
you have an assignment that is your assignment.
kunomsebenzi obekelwe wena ongowakho.
It's yours.
Owakho.
It looks different than anybody else.
Ibukeka ihlukile kunawonke abanye abantu.
And by the time I'm finished this morning,
Ngale ngathi ngiqeda mase ngiqeda namhlanje
I'm
kuseni.
hoping you understand a little part of that assignment.
Ngifisa ukuthi ube neunderstanding noma uqondo okungcono ngalomsebenzi obizelwe wona.
It's not about you being born and just going through this life.
Akukho nje kuphela malana nokuthi uzalwe uphile kulomhlaba.
You know, many times when we become believers in Jesus,
Ikhathe eziningi uma siba ngabakholelwayo kuKristu Jesu
we have this idea
sinalomcabango
that I'm just here abiding time until I go to heaven.
ukuthi nje ngilana ukuze ngiqede isikhathi sami la bese ngiyezulwini.
But God does not need you in heaven.
Kodwa uNkulunkulu akakudinga ezulwini.
He needs you on this earth.
Ukudinga ula
And
emhlabeni.
He has put you on this earth
Ukubeke kulomhlaba
to bring a culture, bring a kingdom culture to this earth.
ukuze ulethe isiko lombuso wezulu kulomhlaba.
So I want you to turn to Matthew, the 13th chapter.
Ngifisa ukuthi siye kuMateyu chapter 13.
Matthew 13:33.
KuMateyu 13 uverse 33.
Now the kingdom of heaven is like yeast.
Umbuso waNkulunkulu unjenge yeast.
The kingdom of heaven is like yeast.
Umbuso kaNkulunkulu unjengemvubelo noma unjenge yeast.
Now you and I, we are a part of the kingdom of heaven.
Mina nawe singxenye yombuso wezulu.
You see, we were with God before we were here.
SasinoNkulunkulu phambi kokuba sibe la.
Because God created us
Ngoba uNkulunkulu wasidala
in His image,
ngomfanekiso wakhe.
which simply means He created us from himself.
okuchaza ukuthi wasidala ngaye uqobo
From the spirit, we're spirit beings.
ngoba thina singumoya wasidala ngomoya wakhe
We live in a body,
siphila noma sihlala emzimbeni
but this body is not who I am.
kodwa lo mzimba akusikhona akuyena lo enguyena
I am spirit,
ngingumoya
and I live in this body.
ngiphila kulo mzimba
You understand what I'm saying?
ngiyayizwa into engishoyo
So it's not the body,
akusiwo
it's the
umzimba
spirit that I am.
umoya enguwona
So we're on this earth
ngakho sikulo mhlaba
to have dominion over the things of this earth.
ukuze sibuse phezu kwezinto zalo mhlaba
So we are to influence this earth
ngakho kumele sibe nomthelela kulo mhlaba
for the kingdom of heaven.
for umbuso wezulu
So the kingdom of heaven is like,
ngakho ke umbuso kaNkuluNkulu
it is like yeast.
unjenge yeast noma imvubelo
When a woman took it and mixed it into a large amount of flour until it worked all through the dough.
eyathathwa owesifazane wayifaka ezilinganisweni ezintathu zempuphu kwaze kwabila konke
Has anybody ever used yeast?
khona kwayisebenzisa yeast la
So you mix it in the dough.
yeast uyayifaka enhlameni
Now I have some yeast here.
uphethe yeast laphana
It really looks kind of useless.
uma uyibheka nje ibukeka njengento useless engenamandla engenamsebenzi
It really, I don't know what value this would have.
angazi ukuthi ingaba inani elingakanani lento
But Jesus here is telling a parable.
uJesu lana ukhuluma ngomfanekiso
And he always uses examples so people can relate to it.
wayevamile uma efundisa ukwenza isibonelo ukuze abantu bamuzwe kahle
So people, they related to what yeast is.
abantu ke babeqonda ukuthi iyini
And
imvubelo noma
then he says they mix it in the dough.
bese ethi ke bayayixuba kanye nenhlama
So the dough represents the world.
inhlama iumfanekiso wezwe
It's our environment that we're in. It's the world.
indawo noma yizwe esiphila kulona
The world system.
indlela yokwenza yomhlaba noma yezwe
Not necessarily the kingdom system.
hayi indlela yombuso yokwenza
But we are here representing the kingdom.
kodwa silana simele umbuso
That we have an assignment.
sinomsebenzi
And that is to influence the world that we're in.
lo msebenzi ukuthi sibe nomthelela kulomhlaba esikuwona
For one reason.
ngesizathu
And that
esodwa
is to influence it for the kingdom.
leso zathu ukuthi sibe nomthelela for
So no
umbuso
matter where you work,
ngakho akusho lutho ukuthi
no
usebenzaphi
matter where you live,
noma bekuthiwa usebenzaphi
no
noma
matter what you
uhlalaphi
do,
noma bekuthiwa wenzani
you have an assignment.
unomsebenzi
And that is assignment is to be the influence.
lo msebenzi ukuthi wena ube umthelela
And here in this parable, yeast is that influence.
lana kulomfanekiso imvubelo iyona eleyo mthelela
So there's some principles of influence.
kunemgomo yokuba nomthelela
It says the kingdom is like yeast. It doesn't say it's like dynamite.
uthi umbuso unjengemvubelo ayisho ukuthi unjenge dynamite noma udalmede
When I put this yeast in the dough,
uma ngithatha le yeast ngiyifaka kwimvubelo
it doesn't intimidate the dough.
ayisabisi inhlama njalo
Years ago there was a program in the United States called Evangelism Explosion.
eminyakeni edlulile kwakuba khona iprogram eAmerica ebizwa ngokuthi i-evangelism explosion
And it was I thought at the time it was an excellent program.
kwakuyiprogram emangalisayo right kakhulu
But today I'm not sure if it was.
kodwa namhlanje angisenaso
Because
isiqiniseko
it taught you.
ngoba ikufundisa
So, do you know Jesus?
ukuthi uthethisa abantu yamazi
If you
uJesu
don't, when you die, you're going to hell.
mungamazi musufile uyesihogweni
It taught us to get in people's face.
yayisifundisa ukuthi sibe sebusweni babantu sibasukele
And I hate to think of the people that I scared.
ngiyasaba ukucabanga abantu engabathusa ngendlela engangenza
See,
ngayo
that's dynamite. Explosion.
uDalmedo wenza njalo oqhumayo.
But here it says it's like yeast.
Kodwa lana lithi umbuso kaNkuluNkulu unjengemvubelo noma njengeyist.
And this diplomacy is sharing our ideas in a way it never offends.
Idiplomacy ukuthi sikwazi ukwabela abanye abantu ngama ideas ethu ngendlela engabalimazi.
So the qualities of yeast,
Ama qualities yeast
it looks helpless.
ibukeka engazi ukuthi ayinamsebenzi.
It's harmless.
Ibukeka engazi ukuthi ayinamandla ayikho into engayenza.
Yeast works quietly.
Isebenza kuthula.
You put yeast in the dough,
Mufake yeast entlameni
it goes to work
yaqala isebenza
quietly.
ngokuthula.
It expands the dough.
Iwandise.
It expands,
Iyandisa
it
inhlama.
expands the territory.
Iyandise umkhawulo.
That's you and I.
Imina nawe
The
lo.
assignment that we have.
Umsebenzi
We're like
esinawo.
yeast.
Sinjengenhlama.
And we need to learn that
njengemvubelo.
just being there.
Mele sifunde ukwazi ukuthi nje ukuba khona kwethu.
You know, I know who I am.
Ngiyazazi
I
ngingubani.
never intimidate the world.
Angizami ukuthusa izwe.
I am the one with power.
Imino
And
namandla.
I'm never intimidated by the world
Nami futhi angithuswa yizwe.
because I know who I am.
Ngoba ngiyazazi ukuthi ngubani.
The yeast never becomes the dough.
Imvubelo ayiphenduki ibe inhlama.
So you and I were in this world, they influence the world.
Ngakho mina nawe sikulomhlaba ukuze sibe nomthelela kuwo.
But we never become the world.
Kodwa thina asiphenduki sibe
We're
ngabezwe.
here influencing.
Silana ukuthi soba nomthelela.
When you put yeast in dough,
Uma usuyifakile ke iyist entlameni,
you put it somewhere where it's warm. Am I right?
uyibeka endaweni lapho okushisa khona okufudumele khona.
Why?
Ngobani?
Because that's when it expands.
Ngoba ilapho eyanda khona.
So sometimes when you and I, when it gets hot,
Ngakho ngezinye
under
izikhathi
pressure,
uma kushisa empilweni
is when we
kunengcindezi.
have the greatest influence.
Ilapho esikwazi kuba khona nomthelela kakhulu kunakuqala.
So never run from where God has you.
Ngakho ungabobaleka lapho uNkulunkulu akubeke khona.
You might be in the middle of a situation that's
Kungenzeka ukuthi
painful,
uphakathi kwesimo esibhlungu.
but learn to influence.
Kodwa funda ukuthi ube nomthelela.
Because out of your pain
Ngoba okuzophuma
is what
kwinhlungu yakho
becomes your strength.
yilokho okuphendwa kube ngamandla
Out
akho.
of the heat
Okuzophuma emlilweni
is
okushisayo
when you can have the greatest
yilapho
influence.
kwazi kuba khona nomthelela omkhulu kakhulu.
On yeast is useless in this package.
Iyist uma isahlezi kwiphakethe layo ayinamsebenzi.
I can throw this pack of yeast in dough and it will not be effective.
Ngingayithatha ngiyiphonse ngephakethe entlameni ingasebenzi.
It has to be taken out of the package.
Kumele ukuthi silidabule iphakethe iphume
And
kwiphakethe.
you and I,
Mina nawe
we need to get out of this
sidinga
package.
ukuphuma kuleli phakethe
As
esikulona.
long as you're in this
Uma
package,
sahleli kuleli phakethe lendongo
you will
zenkonzo
not be effective to the dough.
awunawo amandla okuba nomthelela
Your
entlameni eyizwe.
assignment is not within these walls.
Umsebenzi wakho awukho nje phakathi kwale indonga.
Your assignment is outside.
Umsebenzi wakho ungaphandle
So you
ezweni.
need to get out of the
Ngakho
package
udinga ukuthi uphume ephaketheni.
and go to the dough.
Uhambe uye entlameni
influence it.
ukuze ube nomthelela kuyona.
Once the yeast is in the dough,
Uma iyist ke yangena entlameni
it can never be extracted.
awusakwazi ukuthi uyikhiphe.
In other words, your influence to the
Ngamanye
world
amazwi umthela wakhe ezweni
can never be taken
angeke
away.
baphinde bakwazi ukukhipha.
Whether it's good influence or
Noma
bad
ngabe kuthiwa ube
influence.
nomthela omuhle noma omubi,
But you and I were of the kingdom.
kodwa mina nawe
So
singabombuso.
our influence is kingdom
Ngakho
influence.
umthelela wethu umthelela wombuso.
And it will never be returned to you.
Angeke iphinde ibuyele kuwena.
It'll keep expanding
Izoqhubeka yande
for the kingdom.
for umbuso
So the
kaNkulunkulu.
Kingdom of heaven is like yeast.
Umbuso kaNkulunkulu njengemvubelo noma iyeast.
Matthew 13th chapter, 31st verse.
Matthew 13:31 no 32.
The kingdom of heaven.
Umbuso
The
kaNkulunkulu.
kingdom of heaven.
Umbuso wezulu.
Kingdom of heaven.
Umbuso wezulu.
Jesus is saying the kingdom of heaven is like.
uJesu uthi umbuso wezulu unjenge.
Again, he's referring to something that they could visualize in that day.
Uyaphinda futhi uzama ukubachazela ngento abangakwazi ukuyibona ngamehlo engqondo.
He is speaking to the people.
Ukhuluma nabantu.
And we have to understand,
Kumele siqonde ukuthi
we might not be able to relate to it exactly
kungenzeka ukuthi thina asikwazi ukuyi-understanda njengabo
because it wasn't written to you and I.
ngoba ibingabhalelwe isikhathi sethu noma ngesikhathi sethu.
It was written for us, but not to us.
Ibhalelwe thina kodwa ibhalelwe abantu abeyiqonda kahle ngaleso
But I
sikhathi.
want to try to explain this parable.
Ngizozama ukuchaza lo
The
mfanekiso.
kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed.
Umbuso kaNkulunkulu unjengenhlamvu yesinaphi.
And again, I have some mustard seeds here.
Ngiphethe inhlamvu
In
zesinaphi
fact,
la.
I just threw some out to you.
Ngiqeda nje ukuphonsa ezinye kunina.
Can anybody find them?
Khona ongayithola
They're so little.
indlela amancane ngayo.
And I use this because he's referring to this little mustard seed
Ngikusebenzisa lokhu ngoba ukhuluma ngale nhlamvu yesinaphi encane kangaka.
that the kingdom of heaven.
Ukuthi umbuso wezulu
So you and I, we're like a mustard seed.
mina nawe sinjengenhlamvu yesinaphi.
We look insignificant.
Sibukeka engazi ukuthi asilutho.
But it says it's the smallest of the seeds.
Kodwa lithi iyona mbewu encane kunazo zonke.
Yet when it grows,
Kodwa uma ike yatshalwa bese iyakhula.
it becomes the biggest tree of the garden.
Iba yisona sihlahla esikhulu ngazo zonke ensimini.
I'm talking about your influence.
Ngikhuluma ngomthelela wakho.
Your influence might be insignificant.
Umthelela wakho ungabukeka engazi ukuthi awunamandla.
But if you allow yourself to grow,
Kodwa uma uzivumela ukuthi ukhule,
your influence will take over the society.
umthelela wakho uzothatha wonke umphakathi.
The mustard tree,
Isihlahla semustard.
the smallest of seeds.
Imbewu encane nazo zonke imbewu.
Again, Jesus used an example that
uJesu
people could visualize.
usebenzisa umfanekiso abantu abangakwazi ukubona ngamehlo engqondo.
And many times we refer to these as their Bible stories, their parables.
Ikhathi eziningi sikubiza lokhu ngeistories zeBhayibheli noma imfanekiso.
But I want you to look at this as a way of God. He was explaining what our influence is like.
Kodwa ngifisa uyibuke lento ngokuthi uJesu wayichaza ukuthi umthelela wami nawe unjani.
He wasn't talking about the mustard seed becoming a big tree.
Wangayikhulumi nje ngenhlamvu yesinaphi iphenduka ukuba ihlahla esikhulu.
He was referring to it so people could visualize because they were familiar with the mustard seed.
Wayikhuluma ngayo ukuze abantu bekwazi ukuyibona into ayishoyo ngoba babezazi inhlamvu yesinaphi.
So it was not a physical thing that he was referring to.
Lento azama ukuyichaza akuyona into ebonakalayo.
He was using it as an example so people can understand.
Kodwa wayisebenzisa njengomfanekiso ukuze abantu babe nokuqonda.
The kingdom never comes to accommodate.
Umbuso kaNkulunkulu awuzi ukuthi uzo-accommodate.
The kingdom is never intimidated.
Umbuso kaNkulunkulu awusatshiswa.
It's the biggest tree in the garden which takes over.
Isona sihlahla esikhulu nazo zonke ensimini okuvele sukube isona esibusayo.
And the kingdom is the influence of the systems of this world.
Umbuso ukuba nomthelela kundlela yokwenza yezwe.
Now, when I say the systems of this world, I'm going to be referring to this later again.
Mangikhuluma ngama-systems alomhlaba.
Many of our systems that we experience today
Ama-systems amaningi noma iy'nhlelo eziningi esiyibonayo namhlanje
was not the original intention of God.
akuyona inhloso kaNkulunkulu yasekuqaleni
But it is what it is today.
kodwa kuyikho
And
namhlanje.
you and I are here alive today
Mina nawe silana siyaphila namhlanje
to be a mustard seed planted in our culture, in our
ukuze sibe
society,
inhlamvu yesinaphi etshaliwe esikweni lethu nasemphakathini
to
wethu
influence
ukuze sibe
for His
nomthelela
kingdom.
for umbuso wakhe.
He doesn't clean the garden first.
Akaqale ahlanze noma
He
akline ingadi
puts,
kuqala.
he puts you right in the middle of the mess and all.
Uvela kufake nje phakathi naphakathi kwezinto ezonakele.
Oh, it's messy around us.
Vele konakele zungezwe
There's
konakala.
violence in my neighborhood. I want to move.
Kukhona iviolence emphakathini engihlala kuwo sengifuna ukusuka.
I don't like my job. I want to move.
Angikuthanda umsebenzi wami
But
ngifuna
I'm here to
ukusuka.
tell you,
Kodwa ngilana
you're the
ukuzokutshela
seed.
ukuthi wena
You might
uyinhlamvu.
look insignificant,
Ungabukeke ngazi ukuthi
but you
unamthelela.
stay and your influence
Kodwa hlala ube nomthelela.
will. It will.
Izo
It will.
izo
I said it will
ngithi izo
influence your neighborhood.
izoba nomthelela emphakathini wakho.
He didn't clean the garden.
Akaqalanga wayihlanza ingadi.
No, he put the seed in the
Uvele
mess,
efake nje imbewu
and it grew,
bese iyaqala iyakhula.
and the influence took over.
Bese umthelela uvele uthathe over.
But you see, many of us, we don't have patience.
Abaningi bethu abanayo patience noma ukulinda.
I've had many people tell me, I know of people in the States and all over the world, they moved because their neighborhood was getting violent.
Baningi abantu abangitshela ukuthi basukile endaweni abahlala kuyona ngoba seqala ukuba khona nokudlova.
Who's going to influence them?
Ubani ozoba nomthelela
See,
khona?
first of all, I don't have to fear anything
Okokuqala mina ngidinga kusaba
because
lutho
I know who I am.
ngoba ngiyazazi
I
ngingubani.
can walk in any situation and
Ngingangena noma
I can
isiphi
be
isimo.
the change.
Ngifike ngibe umehluko kuleso simo.
But we have to understand that.
Kodwa kumele siqonde lokho.
But remember, we're like yeast.
Khumbula ukuthi sifana nemvubelo.
You work quietly.
Sebenza ngokuthula.
You're just there.
Khona.
You're like that mustard seed.
Ufana nalenhlamvu yesinaphi.
I can't even see the seed.
Angisayibona lezi engiyichithela phansi.
I don't even see anything. Nothing.
Angiboni-
I don't
angiboni
see
hlobo.
any results. None.
Angiboni imphumela ngisho omncane.
I sowed it. I put that seed in.
Ngitshalile ngifakile lembewu
There's no results.
kodwa ayikho imphumela.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a little bit.
Nakancane
I see a little bit changing.
nakancane kushintsha kancane.
Oh, I see more.
Nakho kuwanda futhi.
You stay planted where God has you.
Hlala utshalekile lapho uNkulunkulu akubeke khona.
You will overtake.
Uzo
Your,
overtake,
your,
uzodlula.
your influence will overtake.
Umthelela wakho uzo overtake.
You're like a mustard seed.
Unjengenhlamvu yesinaphi.
Let's go drink the microphone. He puts a seed right in the middle of the garden.
Ufaka imbewu phakathi naphakathi nensimi.
There's another parable.
Khona omunye futhi umfanekiso.
Matthew 13th chapter, 24th verse.
Matthew 13 verse 24.
Again, Jesus is telling a story in their day that they could relate to.
Futhi uJesu utbatshela indaba ngesikhathi sabo bona abayiqonda kahle ngoba bayazi lento enza umfanekiso ngayo.
Kingdom of heaven is like.
Mbuso wezulu ufaniswa.
It's like a man who sowed a good seed in his field, but while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and he sowed weeds among the wheat and he went away.
Ufaniswa nomuntu owahlwanyela imbewu enhle ensimini yakhe, kepha abantu besalele kwafika isitha sakhe sahlwanyela ukhula phakathi kwamabele samuka.
When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then weeds also appeared.
Kwathi kuba likhule ikhaba kuthela isithelo khona kwabonakala nokhula.
Verse 27.
Verse 27.
The owner's servant came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in the field?"
Kwase kufika izisebenzi zomnomzane zathi kuye Nkosi awuhlwanyelanga imbewu enhle ensimini yakho na?
Where did the weeds come from?
Paul,
He says,
ilithole phi ukhula na?
"An enemy did this," he replied.
Uthi yena isithe senze lokhu.
The servant said, "Do you want us to go out and pull out the weeds?"
Izisebenzi zathi kuye uthanda ukuba siye ukulubutha na ukhula?
He said, "No, because when you pull the weeds, you'll pull up the good wheat too."
Kodwa wathi cha, funa nithi nxa nibutha ukhula nisiphule amabele kanye nalo.
Verse 36.
Verse 36.
His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field."
Abafundi bakhe beza kuye bathi sicela usichazele umfanekiso wokhula ensimini.
And he said, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man.
Wayesephendula ethi kubo ohlwanyela imbewu enhle yindodana yomuntu.
The field is the world,
Insimi yizwe.
and the good seed stands. No, wait. The one who sowed, and the good seed stands for people of the kingdom.
Imbewu enhle yibo abangabantwana bombuso.
The weeds are the people of the evil one.
Kodwa ukhula ngabantwana bomubi.
And the enemy who sows them is the devil.
Kepha isitha esaluhlwanyelayo nguSathane.
Have you ever had somebody in your life that just agitates you,
Kwaba
irritates you?
khona umuntu empilweni yakho nje okucasulayo nokusukelayo.
Anybody?
Khona umuntu oba nomuntu onjalo empilweni?
That you wanted to separate yourself from.
Wawufisa nje ukuthi
In fact-
uyihlukanise naye.
In fact, sometimes we do separate. I'm not going to hang out with those people.
Ngesinye isikhathi siyayihlukanisa nabo sithi angizukuhlala nalabantu.
And sometimes it even happens in families.
Ngesinye isikhathi kwenzeka ngisho phakathi emndenini.
You might have a brother or sister that's not a believer.
Ngenzeka ukuthi unomfowenu noma udadewenu ongakholwa.
And every time you get together with them, they harass you about
Sonke
it.
isikhathi uma uhlane nabo niyaxabana.
And you try to justify why they should be a believer.
Wena uzama ukuthi ubachazele ukuthi kungani kumele babe
So
ngamakholwa.
you're like, you separate yourself from them.
Ngakho ke uyazahlukanisa wena
In fact,
nabo.
there's families sometimes are cut apart because of this.
Kunemndeni ehlukanayo ngenxa yalokho.
But what he's saying here,
Kodwa into ayishoyo lana
don't run from them.
uthi ungababalekeli.
Grow together.
Khula kanye nabo.
Let them grow with you.
Bavumele ukuthi bakhule
Even
kanye
though the
nawe.
devil put them there,
Yize kuyisithi esibabekile
don't
lapho.
pull them out.
Ungazami ukubasiphula.
Because when you separate from them,
Ngoba ngalenkathi uhlukana nabo,
you can no longer influence them.
awusakwazi kuba nomthelela phezu kwabo.
But what we need to learn,
Kodwa into okumele siyifunde
like yeast works quietly.
njengemvubelo esebenza ngokuthula.
If somebody agitates and irritates you,
Makhona umuntu nje okirritathayo,
next time they come at you,
next time bezama ukuthi bakuhlasele,
just be quiet.
wovela uthule.
It'll drive them crazy.
Uzobasanganisa ngekhanda.
Just be quiet.
Thule nje,
But just be.
kodwa ube khona.
Be that influence.
Ube lowo mthelela.
If you do this, I guarantee you'll win them over.
Mukwenza lokhu ngiyakuthembisa ukuthi uzogcina ubawinile.
But you see, they start arguing. They want us to argue back.
Ngalenkathi bona bezama ukuphikisana nathi bafuna nathi siphikisane nabo.
You know who you are.
Uyazazi wena ukuthi ungubani?
You know what's in you.
Uyazi yini ngaphakathi kwakho?
But sometimes we need to learn to just be quiet.
Ngesinye isikhathi kumele sifunde nje ukuthula.
At your job,
Emsebenzini wakho
we have to learn. Just be quiet sometimes. Just
usithulele
the
nje ngesinye
influence.
isikhathi ukuze ube umthelela.
In fact, you don't even need to tell them you're a Christian.
Awudingi ngaso sonke isikhathi ngisho ukubatshela ukuthi ungumKristu.
You know who you are.
Uyazazi ukuthi ungubani.
Your identity is not determined by what they say or do.
Ubuwena akuchazwa kulento bona abayishoyo noma abayenzayo.
Because you know who you are.
Ngoba wena uyazazi ukuthi
But
ungubani.
you're just there. You're influencing.
Kodwa ukhona unomthelela.
And if you do this, you will.
Mukwenza lokho.
See, many, like I used to be taught, oh, separate yourself from them.
Wakuhlezi kuthiwa sihlukanise nabo
Because they might influence you.
ngoba ngenzeka babe nomthelela kuwena.
Who's the influencer?
Ubani ongumtheleli phakathi kwethu?
I am.
Imini onomthelela.
Because I know who I am.
Ngoba ngiyazazi
I'm
ukuthi
the light of the
ngubani.
world.
Mina ngingukhanya kwezwe.
And from what I know, light always cancels darkness.
Ngokwazi kwami ukukhanya njalo kuyahlula ubumnyama.
See, you and I, we can walk in any situation with authority.
Mina nawe singangena kunanoma isiphi isimo ngegunya.
Oh, we don't have to walk in.
Asidingi ungena ngempakamo siphakamise.
Hi, I'm Pastor Henry.
Mina ngingumfundisi uHenry.
I'm here to change your mind.
Ngilana ukuzoguqula ingqondo yakho.
People ask me,
Bantu bangibuza.
who are you? Yesterday I spoke at a church, and before he introduced me, he said, how shall I introduce you?
Bengishubela kwelinye ibandla izolo phambi kokuba ngiphakame ungibuzile umfundisi ukuthi ngikuthule kanjani.
I said, I'm Henry. That's what my mom named me, and that's who I am.
Wathi nje cela ungithule ngokuthi nginguHenry lelo gama nganikeza omali lelo.
In fact, there's many times that I sit next to people on an airplane or something, the conversation always is this, so what do you do?
Ngikhathe iningi mangihlezi nabantu mhlambe ebhanoyini bangibuza ukuthi ngenzani.
It's interesting because men always say, so what do you do?
Kuya interesta ngoba abantu besilisa bona bavama ukubuzana ukuthi ene wenzani empilweni wenza
And most
umsebenzi
times
muni.
between two women,
Ngesinye isikhathi phakathi kwabesifazana ababili
they start discussing their families, their children.
bona baqala bakhuluma ngemndeni yabo ngabantwana babo.
Men, what do you do?
Amadoda afuna ukwazi ene usebenzaphi wenza umsebenzi
So-
muni.
I do anything.
Mina ngenza noma yini.
Sometimes I'm a motivational speaker.
Ngesinye isikhathi
Sometimes I'm a team builder.
nezinkulumo ezakhayo, ngesinye isikhathi
Sometimes,
team.
I have a CDL driver's license, so sometimes I drive truck.
Ngesinye isikhathi ngishayela ama-truck.
I don't do that much, but occasionally I'll do it.
Angikwenzi kakhulu kodwa
What I
ngike
mean
ngikwenze.
is I can adjust my occupation many times. Depends who I'm talking to.
Engizama ukusho ukuthi ene ngasebenzisa noma yiphi kulo msebenzi engiyenzayo kuye ngokuthi ubani engikhuluma naye.
But very seldom do I tell them I'm a minister or a pastor.
Angivamile ukutshela abantu ukuthi ngingumfundisi noma umshumayeli.
Occasionally I will if
Khona
it seems.
ikhathi lapho engizokwenza uma ukuthi ngibona leso
I
sikhathi
was
sidinga lokho.
sitting on an airplane a couple years ago next to a gentleman.
Ngangihleze ebhanoyini iminyaka embalwa edlulile nothize wesilisa.
Of course, so what do you do?
Wangibuza ukuthi ene wenzani.
And I told him I'm a minister.
Ngamtshela ngathi ene ngumshumayeli.
And I very seldom use that term.
Angivamile ukuthi ngikusho lokho.
He right away says, well, I'm an atheist.
Wayesethi kumina ke ayi mina ngi-atheist angikholelwa uNkulunkulu.
Okay. We spent the next 3 hours talking, never mentioning that. But I got to know who he is. I got to know his background.
U3 hours olandelayo sakhuluma sangakhuluma lokho osekushiwo kodwa ngathola ukuthi ngazi ukuthi ungubani nokuthi uvelaphi.
And he told me a story. He was originally from Iran, but he told me a story about his sister.
Wangitshela indaba wayivela ezweni lase-Iran wangixoxela ngodadewabo.
But before that, I found out that him and his sister were pretty close.
Phambi kwalokho ngathola ukuthi yena nodadewabo babesondelene kakhulu.
But he told me a story about his sister. His sister had a vision that there was a ladder coming down from heaven,
Wangitshela indaba
from the sky.
ngodadewabo ukuthi waba nombono wabona istebhisi sisuka emafini.
And there was a man come down the ladder dressed in white.
Kukhona umuntu owehla kule stebhisi egqoke okumhlophe.
And that man reached down and touched her, it changed her life.
Lo muntu wehlela kuyena wamthinta yaguquka impilo yakhe.
This guy just told me he's an atheist, but he's telling me a story.
Lo muntu oqeda ungitshela ukuthi akakholelwa uNkulunkulu ungixoxela leli phupho noma lo mbono.
And I said, who did your sister say that was?
Bese ngiyambuza ngithi udadewenu wayitoleka kanjani le ndaba wathi ubani lo ogqoke
And she
ezimhlophe.
says it was Jesus.
Uthi ke yena uthi
And I looked at him, I
kwakuJesu.
said, well, what do you say about that?
Ngase ngithi mina wena uthini ngalokho?
And he's kind of like shaking his head. He says,
Wanika ikhanda.
it really gave me a lot to think about.
Wathi kwangenza ngacabanga kakhulu.
And then as we're landing,
Uma ke sesifika sesilende lapho esiya
I
khona.
looked out the window, beautiful sky, beautiful clouds.
Ngabuka ngaphandle ngabona amafa amahle.
I said, sir, look out this window
Ngathi mnomzane ngicela ubuke lapha ngaphandle ewindini.
and tell me there's no God.
Bese uyangitshela ukuthi akekho uNkulunkulu.
And he just said, I hope you're right.
Wathi nginesifiso sokuthi
But you
uqinisile.
see, I never went into the fact he was an atheist.
Kodwa angizange ngimhlasele ngokuthi uthe akakholelwa uNkulunkulu.
I was influencing on the level that he received from me.
Ngangiba umthelele empilweni yakhe ezingeni ayingakwazi ukuthi amukele kulona kumina.
See, I could have gotten my Bible out and I could have tried to prove to him.
Ngangalikhipha iBhayibheli ngizama ukumtshengisa.
I would have shut him down.
Ngangizomenza ukuthi avele angivalele ngaphandle.
Are you saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yayibona into engishoyo?
So it's the fact that I have multiple professions is I'm not lying to him. I'm telling him the truth.
Ngoba miningi imisebenzi engiyenzayo angimqambeli amanga ngimtshela iqiniso umuntu
Because
ukuthi yini
I
engiyenzayo.
also have a company
Nginenkampani futhi
that we do team building.
lapho esenza ama team building
So I
kuyona.
mean, I can shift into that.
So futhi ngingashifta ngene
I
kuloko.
was in India,
Ngangise India.
which, by the way, your pastors go along with me to India. Did you know that? Did you guys know that?
Umfundisi wenu uzohamba nami siye India.
The other night, we presented him with a certificate, him and Tabani, with a certificate, all their expense paid to India.
Ngolesihlanu sabanikeza benothobani unkosikazi wakhe isitifiketi esishoyo ukuthi konke kukhokhelwe ukuthi baye nami eIndia.
I'm doing a conference there in May, and they're going to be there.
Zobe khona iconference esiyenzayo khona ngoMay.
I didn't give them their assignment yet. They're going to have a pretty big assignment.
Angakabatsheli ukuthi yini umsebenzi abazowenza kodwa banomsebenzi omkhulu abazowenza.
But they're going to help me teach.
Bazongisiza ukuthi
But again,
sifundise.
I use that because when I go to India,
Ngikusho lokho ngoba uma ngiya eIndia
I use my for-profit company
ngisebenzisa inkampani yami
because I could not get a visa, but it's easy to get a business visa to go in.
ngoba uNkulunkulu ungena uma uze ngebhizinisi kunongena uze ngezenkolo.
So I'm going to create some business cards for him
Ngizomenzela ama business card
and for Tabani
noThobani
that it'll show on there that they I don't know what title I'll give them, but I'll give them a title and we're going to get business visas for them.
ukuze nabo bakwazi ukuthola ama visa ebhizinisi.
It's true. I mean, they're going to be teaching, so we'll figure out how we're going to call that teaching.
Bazobe befundisa so banikeza ititle ekhuluma ngokufundisa.
So we use the tools that God has put in our hands
Sisebenzisa amathuluzi uNkulunkulu awubeka ezandleni zethu
to influence people.
ukuze sibe nomthelelo empilweni zabantu.
One of the tools that I have,
Elodwa lamathuluzi
I don't know
enginalo
if this interprets right, but it's the gift of gabbing.
isipho nje sokukhuluma nje. Ngikhuluma ngaqedi.
In fact, he even says I talk a lot.
I didn't say that.
But the reason I say that because it is easy for me to walk up to anybody and start a conversation.
Isizathu esingenza ngisho lokho ngoba kulula kumina ukuya kunoma ubani ngiveke ngiqale ngikhulume naye.
It's like nobody's a stranger to me.
Akekho umuntu engazi ukuthi uyistranger kumina.
Now, what's also interesting,
Enye into interesting
I don't like big crowds.
angiyithandi ixuku.
As long as I'm up here, I'm okay.
Mangila phezulu
But
ngi-right.
if I am in the middle of a crowd, I a lot of times go, I don't like it.
Kodwa uma ngiphakathi naphakathi nexuku ngivele ngibaleke.
Something I prayed about. God, why?
Ngiyathandaza ngakho
It's
ngithi
like it's
Nkosi
the thorn
ingani
in my flesh.
engazi ukuthi lona eyivalele enyameni yami.
But I love individuals.
Kodwa ngiyathanda
I love
ukuba
people.
uconnecta nomuntu ngaone as an
God
individual.
has helped me to be able to connect with him so many ways.
uNkulunkulu ungisizile ukuthi ngikwazi ukuconnecta nabo ngendlela eziningi.
I don't do sports
Angiwadlala ama sports
because when I was little, I was not allowed to play because of the religious setting we were in. We weren't allowed to be involved in sports.
ngoba ngisemncane ngangayidlala ezemidlalo ngoba inkolo engangaphansi kwayo yayingasivumeli ukuthi sidlale
But
ezemidlalo.
I study enough, I read enough that I can somewhat have a little bit of a conversation about sports.
Kodwa ngifunda ngokwanele ukuthi ngakwazi ukuthi ngixoxe nomuntu ngezemidlalo.
Like I know here, cricket in South Africa, right?
Ngiyazi ukuthi icricket
Right?
yeah.
Well, see, in America, they don't know what cricket is. But
eMelika abazi nokuthi yini cricket.
I read enough about it that I'm probably dangerous in it, you know?
Ngifunde ngokwanele ngecricket ukuthi hlezi ngiyingozi
You know,
kuyo.
soccer, I really don't understand soccer.
Isoccer noma isoccer ya.
But when I'm in Brazil,
Uma ngise Brazil
they all have these soccer teams.
kunalama team ebhola.
So I know enough of names of soccer teams
Ngazi amagama amaqembu
that
anele
if you come up and tell me you're with Botafogo, that's one of them,
ukuze uma ufika ungitshela ukuthi uyi-Chiefs
I'll tell them I'm a different team. I'm for a different team.
ngimtshela ukuthi hayi mina
And I do it
ngiyi-Pirates.
just to create interaction. Oh, no.
Ngikwenza nje ukuze kube khona leyo ngxoxo phakathi
See,
kwethu.
I need to learn the names of South African soccer.
Ngidinga ukufunda amagama amaqembu ebhola ala
So
eSouth
what team
Africa.
are you for?
Chiefs.
What's some other team names?
I beg pardon?
What's the-
Pirates.
That's who I'm for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate you.
But I do this, in other words, I used to live close to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Ngangihlala eduze kwase-Philadelphia,
So Philadelphia
Pennsylvania.
Eagles is an American football team.
Philadelphia Eagles,
Now I live
football
in,
team
now I live in
yasemelika.
Dallas Fort Worth area,
Manje sengihlala eDallas Fort Worth.
and Dallas Cowboys is an American football team.
iDallas Cowboys lona qembu lakuleyo ndawo
And those
le-football.
two teams have been known to be rivals.
Lawo mathimu omabili ayazana ukuthi ayaziwa ukuthi
So
ayizitha.
when I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, when I talk to people,
MangiseDallas ngikhuluma nabantu
I'm an Eagles fan.
ngimtshele ngilandela
But when I
i-Eagles.
go back to Pennsylvania,
Kodwa mangise-Pennsylvania
I act like I'm a Dallas
ngenze
fan.
ngazi ukuthi ngisupport iDallas.
And I do it just to get reaction out of people.
Ngikwenza nje ukuze ngibone ukuthi abantu baphendula kanjani kulokho.
Like I said before, I'm a rebel.
Njoba ngike ngasho ukuthi
Does that sound right in South Africa?
ngiyumvukela mbuso. Ngiyivukela mbuso. I'm a rebel, yeah.
Rebel. Okay. So let's get back to influencing here.
Ngakho ke asibuyeleni ekubeni nomthelela.
Influence wherever you're at.
Iba nomthelela noma ikuphi lapho ukhona.
You know, we will never accommodate sin.
Asoze savumelana nesono.
And he said, let them grow together.
Uthi uNkulunkulu kuyekele
Let them
kukhule
influence.
ndawonye.
Get busy influencing.
Iba busy uba nomthelela.
You cannot influence what you avoid.
Awukwazi kuba nomthelela entweni oyibalekelayo.
I had a guy come to me one time, he asked me to pray for him.
Khona kwenza kumina wacanga ngimthandazele.
What do you want me to pray for?
Yindaba umkhuleko omuntu
He
fanele
said that
ukhuleke.
I can get a job where there's Christians.
Uthi ukuze ngibe ngithola umsebenzi lapho khona amaKristu.
I said, I'll pray for you,
Ngathi ngizokuthandazela
but probably not the way you want me to.
kodwa hayi ngendlela wena ofisa kuthandazele ngayo.
See, you are where you are because that's where you're to influence.
Ulapho khona ingoba ilapho kumele ube nomthelela
I'm going to
khona.
pray that you can be a greater influence among the non-Christians.
Ngizokuthandazela ukuthi ube umthelela omkhulu kubona laba abangakholwa.
Your job is not about you.
Umsebenzi wakho
Did you
awukho
hear
mayelana
that?
nawo.
Your job is not about you creating money. That's not what it's about.
Umsebenzi awukho mayelana nokuthi uthole imali.
Your job is not about you making income.
Umsebenzi wakho awukho mayelana nokuthi nje uthole i-income.
Your job is a government, it's a kingdom assignment.
Umsebenzi wakho umsebenzi onikezwe umbuso kaNkuluNkulu.
Because you are where you are
Ngoba ukhona lapho ukhona
to influence.
ukuze ube nomthelela.
So no matter where you are,
Ngakho ngisho ngabe kuthiwa
don't
ukuphi
run from where God has you.
musukubaleka lapho uNkulunkulu akubeke khona.
I want to talk about the systems of this world.
ngifisa ukukhuluma ngama-systems noma inqubo
The
yaleli
world,
izwe.
the world of the earth we live in.
Umhlaba izwe lomhlaba esiphila
It was
kuwona
not the original intention of God, but
akuyona
this is where we
injongo
live.
yankulunkulu yasekuqaleni kodwa ila
And
ihlala khona
this is what we're to influence.
iyona le ndawo okumele sibe nomthelela kuyo
The world of this earth is political. It's about government.
lo mhlaba esiphila kuwo unepolitiki umayelana nohulumeni
It's economic, which has to do with money.
unezomnotho okuhlangene
Has to do
nezezimali
with business, which is commerce.
ezamabhizinisi
Judicial, which is law.
ezomthetho
Health, quality of life.
ezempilo
Education, which is training.
ezemfundo
Arts, which has to do with entertainment.
ezobuciko
Didn't you say you want to be an artist?
yeah
Entertainment artist or a drawing artist?
singing artist gospel musician
It's part, I just remembered the other night, he said his dream was to be an artist. Recreation, which is sports.
ezemidlalo
Media, which has to do with mental influence.
ezemedia
Then social, which has to do with relationships.
ezobudlelwane
This is the world that you and I know.
nawu-ke lo mhlaba esiwaziyo esiphila
Now,
kuwo
every single one of you in here,
sonke njengoba silana
if you look at this list,
uma ufunda kule list
somewhere you can relate to something there.
khona into oyibonayo laphana
And
okwazi ukurelate
it
kuyona
might cross over.
kungenzeka ukuthi kungaphezu kogodwa
That
mhlawumbe
is your
kumbalwa.
assignment
leyo i-assignment
for
yakho
this world
for lo
to
mhlaba
influence for
esiwona
the kingdom.
ukuze ube nomthelela for umbuso
Like for me, as I don't know anything about government.
njengami nje angazi lutho
Oh,
ngohulumeni
I know some things, but I mean that's not where my influence is.
khona engikwaziyo okuncane kodwa umthelela wami awukho kuhulumeni
Arts, definitely not.
kwezobuciko angikho futhi
If I get up here and sing,
uma ngase nje vele ngicule
you guys would run.
ngavele nibaleke
If I get up try to play the piano,
mase ngizama ukudlala ipiano
it would probably bring crows in here or something, birds that you don't want.
ngavele ngene izinyoni eningafuni ukuzibona zingena la
Sports,
ezemidlalo
I don't know anything. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous, but I mean, I don't play sports.
angazi lutho
So
angidlala
that
ezemidlalo
definitely is not my influence.
akukhona lapho enginomthelela khona
But the other night when I had some people up here,
le nsuku edlulile khona abantu abemile la
I know the lady here, she's a teacher.
ngiyazi ukuthi unaledi
So
uthisha
look at that. Education, training.
ezemfundo ezokuqeqesha
So I'm saying because as you look at this,
ngikusho lokhu ngoba ngale nkathi uyibheka lento
what you do probably has something to do with one of these areas.
lokho okwenzayo kuthinta eyodwa yele indawo
Maybe
okhuluma
not
ngazo.
directly.
mhlambe
Maybe
awuyithinti ngqo
I'm the driver that takes the kids to the school.
mhlambe ngumshayeli othatha ingane azise esikoleni
So, but it has something to do with this. But
Kodwa
this is the world
kuxhumene
of this
somehow.
earth. So this is what we're to influence.
nakho-ke okumele sibe nomthelela khona
Your kingdom come, your will be done.
umbuso wakho mawufike intando yakho mayenziwe
In all these areas.
kuzona zonke lezi ndawo
Your kingdom come in government.
umbuso wakho mawufike
Your kingdom
kuhulumeni
come in finances.
umbuso wakho
Your kingdom
mawufike
come in business and commerce.
kwezezimali
Your kingdom
nasemabhizinisini
come in law.
umbuso wakho
Your
mawufike
kingdom come in
kwezomthetho
quality and health.
umbuso wakho mawufike
Your
kwezempilo
kingdom come in education.
umbuso wakho mawufike kwezemfundo
Your kingdom come in arts.
umbuso wakho
Entertainment.
mawufike kwezobuciko
Your kingdom come in sports.
umbuso wakho mawufike kwezemidlalo
Your kingdom come in media.
umbuso wakho mawufike kwezemedia
And again, I had a brother and sister up here.
bekhona ubrother
And she was a sister, education,
unaleti
but
wezemfundo
her brother would probably be media.
umfowabo ukwimedia
Am I right?
yeah He's
So
over
you
there.
you see where, and that's where, if you look at it, it's all important.
uma ubheka konke kubalekile
You see, she's no greater than her brother when it comes to influence.
Akekho ngcono kunomfowabo handsome uma kuza ekuba nomthelela.
It's the assignment that he has, and it's the assignment she has.
Umsebenzi yena nikezwe wona naye umsebenzi yena nikezwe wona.
So we have to be comfortable in the area that he puts us in.
Ngakho kumele ke sibe nokunethezeka kwindawo uNkulunkulu asibeke
He
kuyona.
said to them, go to all the world and preach the
Uthi
gospel.
hambani emhlabeni wonke.
Go into all the world.
Hambani
Influence.
emhlabeni wonke nibe
Go all the
nomthelela.
world and influence. Be the influence. All the world.
Hambani emhlabeni wonke nibe nomthelela.
Influence mandate. This is where I believe we have a mandate in this area.
Ngikholwa ukuthi sine mandate noma umsebenzi esinikezwe wona.
We have a mandate to influence the government,
Sinomsebenzi okuba nomthelela
the
kuhulumeni,
schools,
ezikoleni,
prisons,
emajele,
poor with disabilities,
abampofu,
the
abakhubazekile,
young people,
abasha,
media,
media,
police,
amaphoyisa,
legal systems,
ezomthetho,
social welfare,
eze social welfare,
environment,
environment,
business,
ezamabhizinisi,
elderly,
abadala,
men and women,
abesilisa nabesifazane,
children,
abantwana,
sports.
ezemidlalo.
This is all, we're mandated to influence these areas.
Sithunyiwe ukuthi benomthelela kuzona zonke lezi ndawo.
Now, the reason I put in there poor with disabilities,
Izathu ukuthi ngifake lana abampofu
because Jesus talks about two kinds of poor people.
ngoba uJesu ukhuluma ngabantu ababili abampofu.
There's one place he says the poor will always be among us.
Khona lapho athi khona abampofu bahlezi bekhona phakathi
But
kwethu.
if you look back,
Kodwa umuhlehla
that means the poor with disabilities.
lelo gama lalichaza ukuthi abampofu bekhubazekile.
And then there's the poor that are lazy, they don't want to work.
Bese kuba khona abampofu abavila phaya abangafuni ukusebenza.
Well, we can influence them too, but we have to teach them to help themselves.
Nabo singaba nomthelela kubo kodwa kumele sibafundise ukuthi bakwazi ukuyisebenzela nokuyisiza.
The human search.
Ukuhlola komuntu.
There's more than 7.5 billion people on earth. They're all seeking the same thing, which is good government.
Kunabantu abangaphezulu kwa7.5 billion emhlabeni bonke bafuna umbuso olungile noma
Now,
uhulumeni olungile.
I'm going to talk about government.
Ngizokhuluma ngohulumeni.
Now, I understand that we are from the government of the kingdom of heaven. I understand that.
Ngiyaqonda ukuthi sivela embusweni noma kuhulumeni wombuso wezulu.
But our assignment is to influence where we are in the systems of this world.
Kodwa umsebenzi wethu kuba nomthelela lapho esikhona kuma systems alomhlaba.
Every nation is preoccupied with government.
Zonke izizwe preoccupied ngohulumeni.
Wherever I travel, all over the world,
Noma ikuphi lapho engiyakhona emhlabeni wonke.
everybody starts talking about government.
Wonke
government,
umuntu
government.
yaqala akhulume ngohulumeni.
When's the last time you had a conversation about your government being at fault? You're blaming your government for things. Am I
Wagcina
right?
nje ukuthi ukhulume ngohulumeni wakho umgxeka umsola ngezinto engahambi kahle.
We do it in America.
Siyakwenza eMelika.
Your government is not the answer.
Uhulumeni wakho akasiyena
You and
impendulo.
I are the answer.
Imina nawe esiyimpendulo.
It's time the church
Isikhathi sokuthi ibandla
takes its position
lithatha indawo yalo
and teach its people
lifundise abantu
to
balo
be the
ukuthi
influence,
babe umthelela
because you and I, we can be the change.
ngoba mina nawe singaba umehluko.
But we look at the big problems sometimes.
Kodwa sibheka le nkinga ezinkulu ngezinye izikhathi
We have to start somewhere.
kumele siqale endaweni ethizeni.
So every nation is preoccupied with government.
Zonke izizwe zinake uhulumeni.
Nations spend their resources on electing and changing government.
Izizwe zichitha imali yazo zizama ukukhetha nokushintsha uhulumeni.
The most important national industry is politics.
Yona
It's government.
industry ebaluleke na wonke emphakathini i-industry yepolitiki.
Think about how much money is spent in changing.
Akucabanga ukuthi inganani imali esetshenziswayo ukuze kushintshe uhulumeni.
And we still end up with all this junk.
yize sekwenziwe konke lokho sihlezi sikule simo esingasihle.
So the pursuit of government.
Ngale nkathi ke sihubha
The
uhulumeni.
greatest need on earth is government.
Isidingo esikhulu emhlabeni isidingo sahulumeni.
And again, I want you to understand, you and I say the greatest need on this earth is Christ, the kingdom of heaven. I understand that.
Isidingo esikhulu uKristu.
But I'm talking about the systems of this world.
Ngikhuluma ngama systems alelizwe.
Every nation on earth is seeking good government.
Sonke isizwe emhlabeni sifuna uhulumeni omuhle.
Mankind is searching for good, effective, and compassionate government.
Abantu bafuna uhulumeni omuhle osebenzayo nonozwelo.
So the question I ask, why is government the priority pursuit of all mankind?
Umbuzo engibuzayo ukuthi kungani uhulumeni kuyilento efunwa abantu kakhulu?
It's because government is a source of influence.
Ingoba uhulumeni umsusa wokuba nomthelela.
Again, I want to back up a little bit. I want you to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
Ngifuna ukuhlehla ukuze ngiqinisekise naqonda engikushoyo.
We are the source of influence from the kingdom for this earth.
Thina singumsuka womthelela for umbuso
But
kaNkulunkulu la emhlabeni.
right here, I'm talking about the system of this world. The government is the influence of how you and I live in this world.
Ngikhuluma ngama systems asemhlabeni. Uhulumeni uyena onomthelela ngendlela esiphila ngayo kulomhlaba.
So why is government so important?
Kungani uhulumeni ebaluleke kangaka?
It's because government influences, it controls.
Ingoba uhulumeni unomthelela uyalawula.
The influence creates philosophy.
Indlela yethu yokucabanga
Philosophy
ivela ku-influence.
philosophy is the beliefs that can become law.
Indlela yokucabanga inkolelo ekwazi ukuphenduka zibe ngumthetho.
Laws become standard.
Imithetho kuba isona standard noma indlela okwenziwa ngayo.
The standard produces values.
Ama standards iwona asenza ukuthi kube khona izinto esizixabisa noma ezingama values.
It establishes worth.
Izona ezenza ukuthi sibuke izinto ezithize engathi ibalekile.
The worth creates moral standards.
Indlela esibuka ngayo ukubaleka ikona okwakha ama standards enkambo yethu.
It's social behavior.
Indlela esiziphatha ngayo kubudlelwane
The
nabanye.
social behavior becomes a culture,
Indlela
which is
esiziphatha
lifestyle.
ngayo nabanye abantu iphenduka ibe isikompilo.
And the lifestyle becomes community, which is corporate expression.
Isikompilo liphenduka libe umphakathi ukuthi ne siz-expressa kanjani njengabantu abahlangene.
The corporate expression becomes society, which is social relationships.
Indlela esiziveza ngayo singabantu esihlangene iphenduka ibe isociety.
So when you look at this list,
Uma sibheka le list,
where do most churches or non-profit organizations work?
amabandla amaningi noma ama non-profit azama uku-influencer kuphi kule list?
I'm glad you asked.
Ngiyajabula ukuthi nibuze lo mbuzo.
Because if you looked at, they say, I want to change society,
Uyabezwa bethi
I want to
sifuna
change community,
ukuguqula
I want to change
imiphakathi
culture.
ne-society ne-culture.
Am I right? Most of the resources of non-profits and churches are focused on the bottom part of that.
Ama-resources ethu amaningi njengebandla nama-non-profit abheka kulokho okusezansi kuleya list.
I'm here to tell you this.
Ngilana ukuzokutshela lokhu.
You will never change the bottom until you change the top.
Angeke uzoshintsha ezansi ungashintshanga ngaphezulu.
Because it's the philosophy.
Ngoba indlela yokucabanga.
So if you don't like the laws,
Ngakho uma ungayithandi imithetho,
because those laws started from the philosophy of the people that are in government higher
leyo
up.
mthetho iqale endleni yokucabanga kwabantu abakhulumeni.
So how do you change that?
Ngakho ke uyishintsha kanjani?
You get involved.
Kumele ube yingxenye, ube involved.
And I know I teach this all over the world.
Lento ngifundisa emhlabeni wonke.
Many times I have people come to me, but we've always been taught to stay out of
Khathi
politics.
esiningi abantu beza kumina bathi sifundiswe ukuthi singangeni kwezepolitiki.
Separation of politics and church.
Khona umehluko siyahlukanisa ipolitiki nebandla.
Even though you might not have been taught that, your country operates the same way.
Yize mhlawumbe ungakazufundiswe lokho kodwa izwe lisebenza kanjalo.
Where you hear these comments, well, he was a Christian when he went into politics, but he got sucked right in. He's just as bad as everybody else.
Uyezwa sikhuluma ngabantu ukuthi wayengumKristu engena kwipolitiki kodwa wafika khona bamguqula naye usefana nabanye abakhona.
If that is why you don't get involved, that's a poor excuse.
Uma leso kuyizathu esikwenza ukuthi ungabi involved izathu ezibhedayo.
That's putting blame on other situations.
Uzama ukusola ezinye izimo.
We have to get involved to change the philosophy.
Kumele sibe involved ukuze sizoguqula
This is
indlela
a mandate.
yokucabanga.
I believe the reason the world is a mess today the way it is because we separated that from the church many years ago.
Ngikholelwa ukuthi umhlaba wonakele kangaka ingoba sahlukanisa into ezimbili.
In fact, I have people tell me sometimes, in America right now, our government's a mess.
Nabantu abangitshelayo njengamanje nje eMelika uhulumeni wethu kubheda kakhulu.
And I look at people, I says,
Ngibheka abantu ngithi
it's our fault.
iphutha
They
lethu.
look at me.
Bangibheke bathi
I say, when I say our, the church.
ngithi uma ngithi iphutha lethu ngikhuluma ngebandla.
Because you see, we never educated the people in this area.
Ngoba sibafundisanga abantu kule ndawo.
And because of that, the
Ngenxa yalokho.
enemy took over.
Isitha savele sathatha.
I mean, when you look at that list I put up earlier, when you think about media,
Mubheke la list ucabanga ngemedia.
media is a God thing.
Kwimedia njengamanje kunobumnyama obumangalisayo.
But think about the percentage of media
Kodwa akucabangi ngengxenye yemedia
that has good media. Very
enezinto
low.
ezinhle.
Most of the media is so corrupt.
Imedia eningi kakhulu i-corrupt.
But it's time we take it back.
Kodwa sekuyisikhathi ukuthi siphinde
You talk about the
siyithathe.
arts and entertainment.
Ngoba njengezobuciko
It's nasty.
kumbi.
It's time we take it back.
Isikhathi ukuthi sikuthathe
Our
sibuyise.
schools,
Iy'kole
Our
zethu
education system.
ezemfundo
We have to make a stand
kumele sime
and take it back.
sithathe sibuyise.
How does it start? One person at a time.
Umuntu oyedwa ngesikhathi.
That seed
Lembewu
that you don't see.
lo ngayiboni nokuyibona.
You might plant yourself in the middle of that garden
Ngenzeka ukuthi uzitshale phakathi naphakathi kwaleyo nsimu.
and you say, it's totally hopeless.
Uthi hey alikho ithemba lana.
But I'm telling you something.
Kodwa ngizokutshela okuthize.
You did something that most other people won't even do.
Wenze into abantu abaningi abanye abangangeke bayenze nokuyenza.
At least you planted yourself.
At least uhambile wayotshalwa kuleyo ndawo.
You can never grow unless you're planted.
Angeke uzukwazi ukukhula ngaphandle kokutshalwe.
Bible says your influence will win.
Lithi iBhayibheli umthelela wakho
But there's
uzophumelela.
many times
Nezikhathi eziningi
we refuse to be planted
siyanqaba ukutshalwa
because we are afraid we'll be overtaken.
ngoba sisaba ukuthi bazohlula noma
Or we
badlule
see there's just no hope.
noma sibone ngazi ukuthi alikho ithemba kulento.
I'm sure glad the mustard seed said it. Didn't say there was no hope.
Nesiqiniseko nemustard seed ayibuke ngazi ukuthi anginathemba.
I'm glad the yeast, it looks useless. It looks
Yeast
helpless.
ibukeka ingenathemba, ingenamandla,
But it's mixed
ingenamsebenzi.
in there.
Kodwa ixutshiwe.
So you can look at other people.
Ngakho ngabheka abanye abantu
You can say, I'll let them do it.
uthi hayi ngizoyeka bona bakwenze.
That's what people have said for years and years and years and years.
Baningi abantu abasho njalo eminyakeni eminingi edlulile.
And that's why we have so much corruption and everything today.
Yingakho sine corruption engaka njengamanje.
So don't blame your system.
Ngakho musukusola isystem
Look in your own heart.
kodwa bheke yakhe
What
inhliziyo.
am I doing to be the
Yini
change?
mina engiyenzayo ukuze ngibe uguquko.
But the job looks so big.
Kodwa umsebenzi ubuye
How can I do it?
kumkhulu ngewenza kanjani?
Start by planting yourself in that garden.
Qala ngokuthi uzitshale kuleyo nsimu.
You know, how do you eat an elephant? It's huge. How do you eat it?
Uyidla kanjani i-elephant?
One bite at a time.
Ngokuthi uyilume nje kanye ngesikhathi.
God promised God's promise to solve Earth's problem was not a religion.
Isithembiso sikaNkulunkulu sokulungisa umhlaba kwangayona inkolo.
It was never his intention for us to be religious.
Kwangayona injongo yakhe ukuthi bengabantu abagcwele inkolo.
God's promise was not a priest but a king.
Isithembiso sakhe kwangayena umpristi kwakuyinkosi.
God's promise was not a doctrine but a dominion.
Isithembiso sakhe wangazona ifundiso kodwa ukubusa.
God's promise was not a ritual but a rulership.
Isithembiso sakhe kwangasiwona amasiko kodwa ukubusa.
God's promise was not a democracy but a kingdom.
Isithembiso sakhe kwangayona intando yeningi kodwa kwakumbuso.
Jesus came to this earth to bring the culture of heaven
uJesu weze emhlabeni ukuletha isiko lasezulwini
so that the earth would be filled with morals, values, and the belief system of heaven.
ukuze umhlaba ugcwale inkambo nenani nendlela yokholwa yezulu.
Jesus did not come that we become religious.
uJesu akazanga ukuze sigcwale inkolo.
Jesus came to give us the authority and the power to make this earth like heaven.
uJesu weza ukusinikeza igunya namandla okwenza lo mhlaba ufane nezulu.
I want you to stand with me.
Ngifisa sonke sukume sime ngezinyawo.
I want to pray for you today.
Ngifisa ukukhulekela namhlanje.
Several ways I want to pray.
Kunendlela ezimbalwa engifisa ukukhuleka ngazo.
First of all, I want to pray for for you people that already you work for the government or you're employed by the government.
Abantu abasebenza kuhulumeni.
Whatever that is.
Ngisho bekuthiwa wenzani
It might
kuhulumeni.
be teaching school or whatever.
Mhlawumbe uyafunda noma yini oyenzayo kodwa umsebenzele uhulumeni.
What you do has your job has something to do with working for the government. I want you to come. I want to pray for you.
Umsebenzi wakho umayelana nokusebenzela uhulumeni ngicela uze phambili ngizokukhuleka.